This program is rated MA. It contains adult themes, coarse language, sexual references, and violence.
Okay, we're live. Take it away, Dirk.
Oh, damn it! I got to take it away too. See, I was never mind. Anyways, yes.
Did you just throw the cat off your lap?
Yes.
Kitty.
That was.
It had to go, man.
Sorry, in my mouth. I got two because I had two accounts at the time, and yeah. So, anyways, everybody needs a pacifier because they are choking on their shit right now. Anyways, welcome to the Open Com Show, Friday night. What is tonight? The 16th or something like that. I guess 17th if you're like not in America time zone. Anyways, yeah, thank you. Tonight we've got Drunk Canadian that's actually hosting the stream for us because Drayden's like in Cali somewhere. You know, he couldn't be here, and I don't know, kind of let us down. Blastum's here, Jeremy's here. Everybody wave. Rain is doing some work with the Evathon thing, so she's just sort of in comms. And let's hear. We got Matterall, my rating partner in crime, and we've got Jin Tan from Pravi. What's up, Jin?
Good, thank you.
Is he from Pravi or is he from Lost? Look at that beard.
Not really. He's been on the island of Pravi too long.
I don't have a complicated enough backstory to be a character in Lost. Sorry to break it to you.
Well, how's Tom Hanks then? Castaway?
I'll take Tom Hanks.
No?
Sure,
All right.
sure. I'll pretend I've watched that film just to appease you.
Oh, we lost
Where'd Blastum
Blastum.
go?
I don't know. This has happened twice now. I'm sure he'll be back.
Yeah, there he is. Anyways, yeah.
Tap.
So I got my binky today because I figured, you know what? Well, actually, I thought it would have been a good gag, but then, like, if I actually have to do the kind of the opening thing, then it doesn't work because I can't talk with it, can't smoke with it, can't drink with it. It's really, it's for kids. Anyways, I'll use it at the next rave. Okay, so just off the bat, we don't typically ask a lot of you people. In fact, we really don't ask anything from you, the viewers, very often. However, there is something going on right now. Oh shit!
Sorry to cut you off.
Oh, Nick, you're fucking killing me.
That was a groan, was it?
Just fucking horrible. You know what? It's like I said. Tell me at quarter till. Remember that?
I did remind you of quarter.
Ugh. I'm too busy. Oh, I didn't even. Oh my god! Did you reset the name of the show and all that?
No, did you?
No, it's
do
not
it
even
now.
set, you guys. I said this in the thing.
Oh,
Freaking horrible. That's why I need Drayden. I think we're gonna actually have to cut the stream and like reset it, and otherwise it's gonna not even register or whatever.
that's all right.
Just shut it down. No, you know what? Screw it. I don't even. I just literally don't even care. It's not like okay, because here's what I was about ready to say. Okay, here's what I was about ready to say. The Evathon thing is going on. Okay, we are not a part of the Evathon thing. However, okay, who it is benefiting is the Able Gamers group that Gommel has a big connection to. Gommel also from the Imperium News Twitch, part of the INN family and all that. So what I'm going to do tonight is, if you were going to give us a donation, I would ask you to give them a donation. If you were going to not give us a donation, I'm still going to ask you to try and make the Open Com show up over on that other thing. I'll post a link in here real quick. Yeah, I'll post a link in the Twitch chat. Coming in now. Okay, so if you can go there directly. If you do happen to make a donation over there, okay, I think that this is a great organization. It is an organization that helps disabled gamers with, accessibility tools and things like that for playing games. Gamal has a much better explanation for it. You can actually go out to the website at, I believe it's ablegamers.org if you really want to see all of what it is that they do. I think this is a great organization. I think it's wonderful what it is they do. Gamal's a big part of the family here, and so if you can help them out, that would be wonderful. I'm not going to sit there and tell you that we will do shots for your donations over there because that would be irresponsible. However, I'm sure that we will be doing shots, and if the number kind of jacks up over there and they start seeing things like, open comms money or something like that show up on their thing, then who knows? Maybe it'll make us do more. But yeah, anyways, so that's it. We'll mention it again kind of as the night goes on, but if you could help out my boy Gamal and his friends at Able Gamers, that would be outstanding. What else we got? Were any of you Imperium guys down at the Keepstar thing a little while ago?
I was down there.
Jin
I
was
was
there.
running CBA.
Matterall, were you there?
No, I was hearing it in one ear, but I was doing other things. Jin was there, though. He's an FC.
Yeah,
So
it
what was it,
pretty
Jen?
great.
Jen, who owned this thing? I heard this thing was owned by supposedly. Well, first I heard somebody say it was an alt corp of PL, and I'm like, we didn't even get a ping or anything. So if it was, they didn't give a shit about that alt.
I think
It's alt corp of Gal in the same way. I don't know. Does NC have an alt corp? I don't
No,
imagine they do, but
it-
it's run by No Handlebars, which is a Shadow Cartel alt alliance, I
Right.
believe, or something along those lines.
yeah, it turns out it's the Shadow Cartel Alt Corp or Alliance.
It's not quite an alt one. Don't share quite the same stuff. Like they are very much separate entities. They just kind of have a lot of friends between each other. It's very weird. Low sec politics, but I
You know what-
understand them.
What's funny about Shadow Cartel is if you ever go to a meetup and there's like a group of guys that look normal, that's Shadow Cartel.
Wow,
Weird.
hush on the rest of the Eve nerds. No one else looks normal apart from Shadow Cartel. Wow, hush.
Yeah, it's harsh, isn't it?
Bring in the shade, Mario.
I'm trying to think of what that means. I'm trying to think. Does that mean like in game they don't look normal, but oh my god, shockingly out of game they all are, or is it all these other
They're just
alliances?
like every alliance has, especially PL, looks like it looks like I don't know, freaks and geeks or whatever. Like I'm being totally like painting a broad brush. But if you look at like Shadow Cartel,
racist.
they're all slim and good, well groomed, and they're having a great time. And they're just like they look like
So they're
look out of-
normies.
they look out of place. Yeah.
Fucking
Normies.
normies.
Get off my
Uh,
board.
Shout out to Matt1066 for subscribing with Twitch Prime. Thank you very much, Matt. Now, okay, so this was a Keepstar that was onlining, correct?
Yep.
Yep. Anchoring.
Anchoring, yep. And who all was there?
NC is the primary defender, along with a very, very large Shadow Cartel, No Handlebars, carrier fleet. So like it was a really weird grid. Like probably one of the most interesting fights I've had in terms of like dynamic positioning and all that. Basically, there was a ton of smaller like skirmishy fleets dancing around. You had like Project Mayhem and all that bring T3s. Goons brought a fleet of Tech 3s and a fleet of Jackdaws. Test brought a fleet of Feroxes. Pandemic Horde came later on in the fight, brought a fleet of Canes. And basically it became, can you chase someone around the grid fast enough to stop them from keeping the timer paused? And the answer was, no, you cannot stop the timer being
No, you can't.
paused. And it was very sad for people.
Well, now, did I hear NC Dot had a bunch of big boys down there, or were they down
Yeah,
there?
they,
I mean, was it
dropped,
just big boys they
unironic,
brought, or
80 Titans and like 30 Supers, and like they just did nothing with them. I was like, okay, nice meme.
well, now, okay,
They were there for fun.
when you say they did nothing, I had heard something about goons were doing some sort of BTAC R thing on Titans or something, and keeping them from Was there something going on there where the reason why they didn't do anything was because they were somehow being
Oh, they're
harassed in
I
some way?
wrote they were doing the Blood Raider Sotia thing on it, where they were kiting the Titans from far away and stuff. But
Oh, gotcha.
yeah, it was just they just weren't getting in range of the Titans and stuff. So Titans weren't very effective. I think
It sounded much more interesting when you wrote it in the chat.
yeah on paper. They were like, people were reporting they got like 100 kills that battle, but only 20 from their super, so they weren't really highly effective.
Yeah, the supers were pretty good when they were being used in concert with the carrier fleet. But outside of that, they were pretty useless. Like, I saw them GTFO a fleet. I think that's the first time I've ever seen one of those fired. But it wasn't particularly effective. And with regards to like super intel, you're gonna have to get me a lot more drunk before I start talking to you about the super intel that I had available at the time.
All right, let's start.
Speaking of which, there's Rain is reporting that people are donating to Able Gamers and on behalf of OpenCom, so we should do a shot for that maybe.
Nice.
Then
We
can
will
get
absolutely do a shot for that.
Yeah,
you know what?
cheers.
Thank you guys for coming through. I know that last year we came through big when we were on the Evathon thing. So you know what? Hey, whatever we can raise. Look, again, it's not something that we do. We do all the time. But here's to you. If you're donating now, if you've already donated, this is to you. If you're thinking about it, just think you might be able to have one of these to you too. Man, I really swore I wasn't going to have one before 30 minutes in, but it's just the way it happens, I guess.
For a good cause.
You gotta break the seal.
Well, it's like, it's kind of weird this week because Drayden's not here. Okay, I got I got Jeremy who sips Manhattans or old fashions or whatever the heck it is. It's like not everybody does shots, and it's like without Rain on screen doing shots, without Drayden here doing shots and whatnot. It's kind of like we feeling like we're going to call like some sort of look, if we do $25 we'll do a shot, or if we hit a certain level we'll do a shot. Isn't quite the same if I'm the only guy doing it.
I mean, I'll do shots as well, but like, holy shit, I can't do every $25 I'll do a shot because I will not be alive.
But yeah, so let's see here. What else we well, there's that. Anybody do any of this drone event thing yet?
No, sir.
Did somebody say yes, sir, or no, sir?
No.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
I've
we've
been too
done a
busy.
little.
I've been too busy sitting in my hangar yelling at my fighters to do more damage, but it's not working.
Come on, hit harder. I think the word is that they are dropping some pretty good loot, and a lot of it, especially some accelerators and skins. Those seem to be popular. They're very these things are very easy to do, and they're dropping things that accelerate your skill training. So that's kind of good. So I would recommend that everybody go and do a little bit of it just to get some of that stuff. I think it's kind of like free stuff basically, because those drones they're pretty weak.
See if we got any here.
What does that say? Jesus, that's such a long paragraph. I have to focus on it. So to not change the subject, and certainly not trying to stir anything up, but I noticed something this week. Considering Dirk McGurk and Matterall are on here, and from INN, what do you guys think about Eve News 24 stepping up their game on articles this week? They had a ton. It was nice reading during the work week. I'm going to be perfectly fucking honest, okay? This show's on the Imperium News Network. If I need to hang a story up, it's on Imperium News. I've been here since, 2015. I've been writing here since 2014. I may be in PL, but I don't know. I'm too lazy to move to go someplace else and really don't have a good reason to begin with. However, I'm pro anybody out there who puts out material. And if Eve News 24 is stepping up their game, which they actually have this week, then that's great. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't look at it as competition. I look at it as there's so few of us doing the kind of work that we do within Eve Media that I don't care where they hang their hat, and I don't care who's behind the freaking puppet stand of it all, and who cares? What we should care about as players is there content out there for us to be able to consume?
well, I think if you want to look,
I watch MSNBC some nights.
It's awesome. We can,
Not to throw shade on EN24, by the way, but I'm not a huge fan of like most of the articles that they put out, and also like the amount of spam they do of content, which is just straight copy paste and shit. Like that's not okay. Don't like the way Even Ace 24 does that. They don't comment on patch notes. They just put patch notes up. I still think that's really shitty.
I think
Maybe
there's
that's
a
just
place
me.
that already has patch notes. It's like a CCP.
Yeah,
website.
it's like it's
There
CCP's
is. Oh, you know,
He's being facetious.
What do they
there
call
is.
them?
You're absolutely
Dev
correct.
something?
Okay.
Oh,
Well,
Devlog.
you're absolutely correct. There is a place that,
Right.
that puts that out, and quite frankly, if you went to TotalEve.com, you would get all of the things all of the time. But look, if they want to just put copy pasta, okay, or something like Dev Notes or something like I really honestly have no problem. If they've got people who come to their site on a regular basis, and that's the way that those people are going to have communication, understanding of what's going on out there, because they're not trolling the forums or anything like that, then fine. Whatever the outlet is that we can get more people informed about things, I just don't care.
Yeah, I know there's like the temptation to take fights into the meta world and all that stuff, and that's all BS. It's hard work. They do it, we do it. Other people have done it before us. And that's the stuff that we love to read for people who can't play all the time, which is a lot of us, especially when we're at work and stuff like that. That said, the people who've really stepped it up, in my opinion, or the person, is Rivra from INN, who's basically cranking out as editor-in-chief. Her crew of just about 30 writers is cranking out a bunch of original stuff. Some of it's okay, but a lot of it's great. A lot of it is very current. Stuff is up sometimes.
Some of it's okay.
Well, I have a thing about
Stuff
reading
that's less than okay.
kind of blog stuff, like if it's, but that's, I don't know, maybe it's, I shouldn't have said that, but like blog stuff to me is nice if you know the person, but if you know the person, it's too personal. Like I don't relate that way. Like I don't like stuff that's written, this is my personal opinion, it does not reflect anybody else. Stuff that's written in a way of like, today I did this, and now I've done this, and now I've done this, and this was my perception of that. Like I don't like reading that kind of stuff. I like stuff that's like information, context, who's who, that kind of stuff. Because I want to know what you know, not how you think, I suppose. That's just a personal view of news in general. And I think I like Johan over there at INN. He's our new editor-in-chief. Nice guy. He hangs around on our Discord a lot, and best of luck to him. He's got a tough job.
That's kind of cold. Yeah, I mean, when you think about that in a way, it's like we first thought that it was because he was trying to be friendly and stuff like that, right? But he's like, he hangs out, he lurks quite a bit. Every once in a while, he'll say something and things. I really think he's like scouting out all the information that goes on in Talking in Station's Discord for like stories and stuff.
Yeah.
And maybe that's how they're stepping up their game now.
Yeah, he's throwing out facts to see what the real answer is when it comes back, because the fact is not usually, but sometimes wrong. I would do that. That's a great idea.
I should.
No,
yeah.
You go to where the information is.
And you know what? I think this goes back to kind of one of the things of, look, on INN, right? I mean, obviously, let's see, I'm trying to think of where I was. No, I was in TNT at the time I started writing for the Matami.com back in the day. And was it? No. Yeah. No. Anyways, I don't even fucking remember. I believe it was. Anyways, yes, it was actually. Matterall. But I'm with PL now. Matterall is with NC Dot. And he's like a mid-level dude within the organization of INN and stuff. There's a whole bunch of mixture of people there, but like we're there. There are some outsiders. I'm not even sure where some of them are from. And things like that. But it's like, we talk with people like Nidden at Crossing Zebras and, Johan and whatnot. I mean, the Eve media community, of the people who are actually doing things is probably more, I don't want to say tight knit, but keeps in touch with one another. Just in case we get fired and need a job and the Open Com show is on the Eve News 24 Twitch one day.
Well, it is kind of a small group of people that actually do it, which is too bad, because really you need more diversity. That was one of the points I was trying to make a while ago. It didn't make it very well, but you need people from all corners of Eve talking about what's going on locally, although some places are just quieter than others. But it is a small group that does it, and they all kind of talk to each other if we're friendly and stuff. There are some people who are no longer welcomed. I will say Seraph is no longer welcomed. Me and Salavan don't see eye to eye very much, and so there's some people that don't mix. You mix with everybody. I don't. It's funny because I'm supposed to be the easy.
I don't.
I'm the
I
easy.
don't. It's a
don't?
little hidden secret that I don't mix with everybody. But no, I mean, I'm just saying broadly within kind of like, the people who get around, maybe not so much if you're a writer, as to how you interact with writers from other sites. But I know certainly within kind of the podcast and this sort of show kind of community, there is interaction. There's interaction on a fairly kind of, I don't want to call it consistent level or regular level or anything, but we're all in touch with what one another are kind of doing, just out of I don't know, a form of support. Because once again, there's not a lot of us who are doing any of this stuff. So it's why you'll never, I'll shit on a lot of things. I absolutely freaking will. Okay. I won't shit on other content creators who are writing things or doing podcasts or things like that. There's just not enough of us to sit there and put it down in in any way. Now, I expect the same in return.
Constructive criticism is a necessary part of the industry. You gotta be willing to tell people when they're fucking something up, I think.
Yeah, but it's the opposite. This is telling them when they're doing a good job. They have.
Oh yeah.
I don't see how much of that is original, and I guess that's not important, because if you're coming to a site to get news about Eve, what's it matter if it's original or if it's a link to something else? I mean, I don't really know if that's a problem. But I will say this: when I used to read Eve News 24, but before I even edited it.
Damn, I almost just pasted my credit card number into the Twitch chat.
Oh yeah, don't do
that. But like, I'm not trying to throw shade on EN24 as like in terms of their articles. I think Kirith Kadachi is actually really good. Like a lot of his articles he's been putting out.
Those are his blogs. I think they're just reposted, I believe.
Yeah, I know, but that's still cool. There's still articles that, I suppose, in the same way. I can't really. I mean, I guess I'm throwing rocks in glass houses because CZ hasn't put out an article in like fucking 2+ weeks.
I heard yesterday from a guy who is so riled up that he is thinking about posting an article on CZ.
Whoa,
was that you?
That is impressively mad.
No, I mean, he's a little riled up about some of the stuff that's going on out there, and he's like, man, I am this close to writing an article and putting it on CZ. He's actually a writer from over there, but I find it kind of sad in a way that CZ doesn't have the articles that they had. They were, as far as I was concerned, a very good magazine type. Type site, right? You weren't going to find multiple articles in one day, but the ones that you did find were, typically going to be well written and kind of thought out. You may not agree with them, or or like what it was saying, but it was quality work. Now it seems like a place that's kind of like hanging some podcasts, and that's kind of sad, because one of two things are going to happen, right? It's either just going to fucking crater. Or it'll pull itself back up again. And having been here at INN and TMC before it, look, there are high points and low points. Even here went through, went through some tougher times when getting writers and everything was more difficult.
Yeah, I was here for the ugly. I think I got here at the end of the good times and went through the starvation times, and we're emerging from that. So they all suffer, but I don't know.
Do you remember like the end of TMC where you guys just had no writers left? Like that was a sad time at Eve. I felt like the Eve media was actually dying back then. It was a really tough time.
What time was that?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just remember very distinctly thinking at some point that there just aren't any writers left. There was no one I wanted to read.
That was right before the casinos got banned. Because right after the casinos got banned, that's when all the writers came over. Sadly enough, because I've got to be honest, I sit there and go, I go, people get paid to do this. I mean, when a lot of us started, it was like, we just did it because, for love of the, for love of what it was we were doing, right? Just writing something because you cared enough to like actually put some words down on paper, and there was somebody out there that wanted to hang it, and maybe they were, maybe they were giving away some pennies or whatever. Things did change with TMC coming on, and then with the casinos, and then there became competition, and like the labor was spread out amongst some places out there. It was a lot easier to decide where you wanted to be, if all the pay was sort of equal. But now, I think I think they have a harder time attracting. That disappoints me because that means that somebody is actually willing to put hours of their life into writing an article to get paid, like, I don't know what, $500,000 ISK.
Half a billion.
I'm sorry, $500 million. $500 million ISK. No, well, hold on. You guys get $500 million. I get $500,000.
What?
I'd be pretty fucking mad if I got $500,000. I'd be like,
I know. I thought it was
I
thought I was ahead of the game, but I've been getting $500,000 since 1972. So it's like, maybe I just haven't gotten a raise. No, I don't know. For me, it was just, for me, it was never about the freaking, ISK and doing it, right? Because I got to be honest, you could sit there and say, 3 billion ISK, and that's not going to make me write an article that I just don't want to, write, or I don't feel like writing, or whatever. It's like when the muse grabs you.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Like, if INN is going to pay 500 million per article and stuff, it's got to be pretty good to get on there. That's the incentive, right? Like, we'll pay a lot, but it's got to be pretty good. It can't just be like, a little bit of something everybody knows. That said, like, if you guys submit, I think very few submissions get turned down, so I would do it. And we actually pay submissions now. So if you're nobody that belongs to INN, or you're not part of the crew, you can actually just submit and get $500 million for once a month.
Apparently, we have editors and proofreaders and shit.
Yeah, they
actually. Yeah, I sat in on one of your creative meetings. I was like,
oh,
there is like a professional structure here. Shit, I'm scared. Mum, take me home.
Was it too intimidating? That's funny. Yeah. Well, anyway, Ian24 doing a good job. Sure.
Yeah, and you know what?
Look,
I was out there today. I've got a comment on Kirith's article, and you know what? Now that I think about it, let me go check that. We're proud to bring you the stories and opinions and musings of a long time. Blah, blah, blah. See, I don't know if that was like one of his blog posts that is syndicated. They do a lot of the syndication stuff over there too. Now, what I hope is that they pay for that syndication. It's not just copy pasta and stuff like that.
I think they pay 100 million %.
Yeah, something like that. Hey, you know what? Which allows it's not a terrible model, because it allows some people to maintain a level of independence or whatever, but still kind of earn by allowing syndication over onto Even News 24. Whatever. It's a different model. But I was over there today. I read the stuff that's over there.
Yeah.
If I think the article is, but then again, I'm choosy on article. I'm not choosy on site.
I don't, but what's sad to me is I go back in time a lot. We just did recently. We researched an article together.
Well, did you say you don't?
I don't read that much. No, because a lot of it is, what I do is I'll go to Ian24. If I go there and I'll skip the article and go to the link that takes me to the dev blog. There's something about reading the original dev blog. Like, it's a weird thing. It's kind of like I have to connect with the direct source. Even though they're the same words. I don't know why I do that.
One of those times they'll sneak something in there, and then you'll go to the actual dev blog, and it'll be different.
Yeah, right. The stats are all different.
Just trolling you.
They messed me all up. No, but what makes me sad is I go back in time looking at old articles and stuff, and just the amount of like energy the news had when I was reading it. Maybe it takes me back to those times when I was super into like all the stuff that was going on. But it's kind of electrifying, like how the news was and stuff. I think it's probably
electrifying.
Yeah, does that sound like Grease Lightning or something?
It does, man.
Yeah.
Fucking Grease Lightning, baby.
That's right.
DC's calling for shots.
I can do it a shot. I also want to say
I donated $25 a little while ago, so you know what?
Okay.
For me and for all those other people that like have donated since the last time, thank you very much.
I donated $3
to me.
Turd McGruber.
There you go. Did you put open comms in there?
No. I donated it to this channel to test the fucking alert thing because it kept freezing.
Oh.
Oh god. All right, shots.
Shots. What kind of beer are you drinking there, Canadian?
Canadian.
Oh, but of course you are.
But of course.
But of course. I am only a connoisseur.
I want to say one more time, Rivra is busting her ass getting a lot of original stuff up on INN, and she's an amazing person. Is putting out a lot of good content, making me very hopeful.
You know, Array just said people still read Reddit, and I'm going to say this. Actually, I said it a few weeks ago. I think that that Reddit serves a purpose for me in this sense. There's a lot of people out there, so you crowdsource a lot of information. Some news does break out there. All of the commentary and shit that comes after that, complete and utterly uselessness. Just like on the forums and things like that. Don't get me wrong. The rabble, when they congregate, no matter where they congregate, it turns into a shit show. But you will get some things that actually break out there. And you know what? Fuck it. Let's look at what we've got going on. Oh, look at that. Isn't this funny? The ghost training exploit. This is something that publicly broke on Reddit. Okay? You go back and you show me where the journalists of Eve Media picked this up and when, and I'll tell you that they did not. I'll tell you that probably the biggest voice outside of Reddit that fucking mentioned this as early as I did, well, I just gave it away. It was fucking I. Okay?
Was Dirk
only
McGurk
on this terrible little show that we have here, right? So it really didn't get out there that, all that far. Reddit, however, was posting this stuff, I think as early as March, maybe sooner. So you really got to wonder, right? Where we as Eve Media are, okay? Like talk about things like, don't we wish we could be like, space journalists and shit like that. Well, you know what? This is one of those stories that I know for a fact was known by elements of Eve Media who didn't touch it. And this is the kind of the evolution of Eve Media, because a few years ago, an exploit that was taking advantage of things and that was giving advantage to a certain group of players out there would have actually created something that they would have raised an issue with, that the media would have been behind. I mean, we've crucified more freaking people that needed crucifying in the history of this game over less than this. So when people shit on Reddit, you can shit on kind of like the general Reddit, but just remember, there is a form of intel out there. There is a form of like, you know what? This is maybe Reddit may be the canary in the coal mine that the media needs to actually.
Reddit for you, Dirk.
Well, thank you.
It's in the chat.
It's in which chat?
It's in TeamSpeak or the Twitch
Oh.
chat, whichever one you want to click on.
Yeah, exactly. I do not like any place, like forums or Reddit or anything like that, because it's like there's just too many voices. There's just too much like yah going on out there and shit. All right. And I'm not saying that like, Eve Media is somehow above all that and whatnot, but we will take the time to, to maybe research a story if we have the insight into it and things like that. In this case right here, this has been my biggest disappointment with Eve Media that I can remember, because this was something that we should have as a community of Eve Mediaticians, like been on.
Well, you did. You brought it up.
Media people.
Fourth Estate. You did though. You were bringing it up.
No, I did it. Well, number one, I did it like 2 weeks after I heard it, because I had completely forgotten the week before. Just booze. But I mean, but I did it the next week. I was totally fucking serious about it, and I did it on Twitter. I mean, this is the thing, right? If you see something, say something.
Well, but this may be a different thing. This may be one of those topics where you have to be careful, because what we might have known at the time was, I wasn't actually aware of this, but that CCP didn't want this broadcast because they weren't in a position to crack down on it. And
Let's talk about that for a moment.
Okay.
Let's talk about that. Actually, I want to talk about two things for a moment. Okay, and I'm sorry if you hear, if what you think is that Dirk's ranting right now. I'm actually not. I'm really kind of fucking laid back over this, because you know what? I was on the right fucking. I was on the right side of fucking history, and I'm a minority. Okay, so I'm claiming minority status.
You are
on this
too,
one.
brother.
Are you pulling the race card?
No, I'm not pulling the race card. I'm just whatever. I got like cards all in my pocket. Anyways, Noisy makes a mention out there saying, you know what? I didn't do it because I was afraid, basically, I'm paraphrasing here, all right? I was afraid that if you say too much about an exploit, they could hold you liable for like talking about an exploit. And it's like, you know what? I'm sorry. CCP is not going to be a dick like that, okay? Not to members of the media, I don't think, okay? If what we're saying is this exists, not telling people how to do it, but it exists. And people need to be concerned about this. CCP, you need to be concerned about this. CCP, you need to make an announcement out there to your player base that if you can't fix it right now, doesn't matter. It's still an exploit, because this was an exploit before they made the notification. It was a EULA violation in spite of the fact that they made a notification.
Well, was it? I thought it was. I mean, it's only an exploit when they say it's an exploit, right?
CCP won't let me be me, so let me see.
You caught that, didn't
Nice,
you?
Paul. Nice. I did. That was some good stuff. Sorry, Matterall.
No, it's all right. I just
I
wonder,
get off
like,
on that 8 Mile shit.
That's actually something Sophrosil said there in the chat, which is they could have labeled it an exploit without telling people how to do it.
Yes, they could
they
have.
Can't. That's not how declaring an exploit works.
'Cause
If your exploit is if you get SP without training, that's not pointing out the specific exploit.
They don't
You
have
gotta
to
draw the
actually.
line.
Okay, here's the thing. All right, this is not an this is an exploit that they could have pointed out. We understand that there is a ghost training exploit out there associated with Omega and Alpha accounts. Okay, we just want you to know that even in spite of the fact that we are announcing this out there, this is already a EULA violation. It was already a EULA violation at that point, even before they freaking announced it, because you are not allowed to accrue whatever it is, ISK, SP, all these other things in this game in a way that is inconsistent with how this game was built. And everybody knows for a fact that you are supposed to train at half speed as an alpha. And if you are not training it out at half speed, then you are in a position where you theoretically could be held as an exploit. In this case, that wasn't going to happen because nothing you could do about that if you logged off and never logged back in again could have stopped that, really. But if you took advantage of it afterwards and then cashed out your skill points using extractors and then sold it, you have now committed that step over the line into, it just didn't even matter. So they could have said something. They could have just said, they could have laid it out there, what it was exactly. And it still wouldn't matter.
well, I
They
guess
didn't. They let people fucking go.
any fair-minded person would look at that and say, I'm probably not supposed to do that. But I don't know if it's technically an exploit. Maybe it is. And it's funny because I think a lot of people, I know only one, but I'm sure other people who are skill farmers are nervous as well. Anybody who participated in this is probably nervous. Did I or didn't I violate the rules and stuff?
No,
And-
they've been clear. It sounds.
Who's been clear?
It sounds so far that they've been clear since they came out with this. Okay, and I just want to answer a Ray out there. How is it an exploit if a player walked away from the game, let the sub lapse, and inadvertently got an SP game? That's the whole point here. That would not have been an exploit. Okay, technically, officially under the EULA, it would have been a gain that you did. However, they're not going to call that as an exploit on people. They're going to call it an exploit when you benefit from it, when you make a step that's actually an action on behalf of the player. That's where the exploit of this was. You let it happen? Oh, well, damn, maybe that guy just, decided that he wasn't going to play EVE anymore. Okay, fine. Or he was going to let his account lapse. Fine. And then he comes back, extracts, sells the injector. That right there is the point where you've crossed the line.
When he does that on 100 accounts.
If
that's
he
where
does it on
crosses the
100
line.
accounts, he has industrialized the exploit. Okay, and I'm going to tell you right now, this is what's going to happen. They're not going to go after the guy who even did the exploit once. They're not going to go after people who inadvertently or intentionally let their accounts lapse and just got extra skill points. They're going to go after people who obviously made a business out of it.
Do you think they're gonna have some heads roll just for show? Like CCP kind of needs to make people have more confidence by showing some examples of persecution.
Every
would
single
hope so.
time that you absolutely every single time, okay, that you have a known exploit, right? They're not going to be able to catch everybody. You're never going to be able to catch everybody. This is the IRS theory, right? The IRS theory says we can't go after every tax cheater out there. So we don't really go after the little ones. We may have some random stuff with the little ones, but what we find are some big ones. We want
You
Willie
go after
Nelson,
Wesley Snipes and Willie
we want
Nelson.
Willie Nelson and
I
Wesley
regret
Snipes.
it too.
Okay? Because what that will do is it'll send the message going, oh shit, passenger 57 down. All right? Hold on. Was that what it was? Passenger 57? Yeah. Anyways, you go after the big names, okay? The word gets out, and then other people think twice about it. All right? In this case, that's exactly what you do. And I'm not even calling for bans. I don't think you should. Number one, I'm not calling for anything because what authority do I fucking have on that? But you know what? I wouldn't do bans. I wouldn't even chase the money. I wouldn't do forensic accounting that was going to waste somebody's time up at CCP trying to find where the money went to out there, right? I would sit there and I would find the places. I would pick a number. I would, I don't know, set a threshold. I don't know what it is. A 10-character farm where you can prove that they did this. A 50-character farm that you could prove that they did this. And then I would burn the skill points down of every character associated with it so that, hey, you still have your account here. You're not even banned. Replant your farm.
Well, the lore that
But do it legal.
the lore that kind of ticks people off is that, and I don't know if this is true or not, but I've heard
I
it,
just need a shot now.
that
Yeah, DC called for a shot.
Globby,
Love you.
who's a guy from Code who's kind of a scientist with the game or whatever, discovered that this was happening, wrote CCP, petitioned it to them, saying, "Hey, this is going on." Maybe even more than once said that, and then said, "Oh, all right. Well, if you guys aren't doing anything about it, then I'll start doing it." You know.
Wow, thanks for the $50 donation.
Yeah.
What?
Shut the
Not
fuck.
at all. No
What?
need to mow the lawn this weekend, apparently.
Oh,
To
this is-
the game?
Wolf Glen, $50 donation.
Look at that gold. Oh, I've never seen that live.
Not
All
not
right,
here.
well, I guess
Thank
we're going
you,
to do
Wolf
another
Glen.
shot now, haven't we?
Are you seeing?
Yeah.
what's
Didn't
going
see it on
with
your
my
show, Matter.
stupid
I'll do a shot for you,
Yeah,
Matter.
I don't see
Damn,
anything
that's
like that.
impressive.
Although I got a $20 the other day, and that was more than the entire year and a half the show's been on. That's people are getting happy.
I am
Mike-
going to say. I'm going to say it again. Just real.
It's all that Rorkalisk.
I am going to say it again, just real quick. Listen, everybody, we're not looking for donations here tonight. We typically don't even ask for them on a regular basis. However, we do appreciate the fact that some of you are willing to give to the show. Tonight, however, I would really appreciate if any donations that you make go to Able Gamers. I'll link it again in the channel. But that guy gets a special fucking donation, donation shot. I know we just did one too, so fuck it, whatever. What was his name? We must say his name.
Wolfgang, I think.
Wolf Glen.
Oh,
Wolf Glen.
you guys are
Wow,
horrible.
I'm out of drink.
You're out of drink? Sounds like a you thing.
Yeah,
Why
yeah,
does it
so-
not? Why does it not come up in the Twitch chat?
Fucking
This is
you.
Wolf. Wolf,
I
you know what?
know.
Here's to you, bro. Shot, baby.
Yep. Thank you.
That's
My
nuts.
point, though, is I think on the ghost training, where it originally came from was in 2008, 2007, when that first was an exploit. Whenever
But it
people would
wasn't.
log up,
But it wasn't an exploit
right?
then.
They didn't really call it an exploit, but they say we fixed.
It wasn't
we
an exploit.
We fixed something where you could skill train forever. You let your real accounts, lapse.
Nope.
So
Okay, you know what? Since I've been working on fucking Eve history the last 4 days and until 6 o'clock this morning, let me just take us all back here for a second. When they fixed ghost training back in, I believe it was 2008. Okay, people have to remember that in 2008, I think it was 2008, but whatever. 2008, 2009 doesn't really fucking matter. We did not have unlimited skill queues.
Right.
Like literally, you needed like a times whatever the hell it is,
2008 sounds
27
like a
freaking
year ago,
45
yeah.
day, train time, one skill. We had a 24-hour skill queue back then. So the most you could get from the ghost training back then was just that one long skill, basically.
Carrier 5 or Battleship 5 or whatever
Exactly.
it was.
Capital Ships 5. Some ridiculous skill. Okay. And then after that, it didn't matter. There was no ghost training after that because you couldn't put more skills in there. You could put a whole bunch of little teeny tiny skills in there and then this one right at the end, but nonetheless, right? It was whatever the maximum days of that skill was, plus like 23 hours and 59 minutes or some shit. So when they killed that, but we also have to remember that back in the day, that only got your character some extra skills for a short period of time. You would then need to resubscribe to the game and maybe set it up again, and you can maybe get 6 months out of the year where that shit worked. This is a completely different friggin' story. Not only that, but with the introduction of extractors and injectors, it makes it a moneymaker. It was not a moneymaker back then. It could theoretically, with the character Bazaar, be a quasi moneymaker, but it was not significant enough. And you know what? People bitched about that shit. And this goes into what we're going to get into in a little while here about what you all think.
Play while you were doing it. Before, like you said, before you would just set up your skills, have one skill, and then you wouldn't play while it did its thing.
Now you can't do that now.
Do shit.
No, you can't. You cannot. You cannot touch that goddamn account. Do not log it in as an alpha.
So it's the
and this
same
is
thing.
and this is right now. Exactly.
You can set it up on an unlimited skill queue. And then
it meant log it off, and don't touch it until you were ready to deal with it. Okay. However, it was not consequential back then, both in terms of the time that you could deal with it and in terms of the fact that you couldn't make money off of it, not easily. Today, we have combined the two. We combined the fact that you can make money off of it. And, well, pretty much you can make money off of it.
No, or you can move it from one character to another if you don't.
I don't care. Nobody gives a shit about moving shit from one. You think those goddamn plantation owners that were out there ghost plantationing this shit were moving it from one character to another? No, it was about making goddamn money. It was about ripping CCP off and using Plex.
You have 10 characters.
Jesus, all this talk about plantations. Are you gonna start asking CCP for reparations or something?
No, but I think that the goddamn people from Planet Barbados need to know that they got ripped the fuck off.
Alpha accounts are worth 3/5 of a person, so they can only vote for 3/5.
If you have 10 accounts and you're farming those for points, yeah, you could sell them and make money, sure. The other thing you could do is you're training faster. You collect all those skill points and stick them into your character, and then you're actually building some kind of a loadout for a character, and then you try to sell that character off. I don't know if that's efficient use of time, but that's theoretically possible.
You could, again, so with the current exploit, once you set it going and you set your unlimited skill queue out into the future, you just let it fucking go. You let it go for as long as you thought it was going to be, measuring the risk reward of when you thought CCP was going to catch it and shut it down, right?
That's what. Yeah, go ahead. Well, that's what's funny, because then you saw it come up, right? People started talking about ghost training. You were, and other people were, kind of at the same time. And what happened to the price of Plex? It started to go up. Because
there were other reasons that the price of Plex started to go up.
Yeah, but one of them was suspected that was people grabbing up a bunch of Plex to bring those accounts back online so they could cash in before it actually got nerfed. Because once it started surfacing...
and that's funny, because just the other day I heard that the price of Plex was going up because somebody was front running it in the last week and a half. So I mean, look, the Plex market in this game is the largest friggin' market of goddamn anything in this game. You as an individual, I don't give a shit what your farm looks like. You might be farming all of Siberia, okay? This game can actually absorb quite a bunch of a single player's, I don't know, Siberian alts, all right? I don't think that that's what it was, all right? Plex was running up when it was earlier in the spring, all right, because we knew that the changes to Plex were coming and things like that. That we knew that the demand drivers were going to shift from Aurum over into Plex and all of that, all right? I don't want to lay it off onto. Look, I don't think that there's a million people out there farming. I don't think that every goddamn Chinaman has ghost training farms and shit.
You didn't just say that, did you?
What? Chinese man?
Classic racism.
Is that what you said? Oh, I heard something else.
You said no. You said Chinaman.
Chinese man?
Well, I guess if you're watching a Western.
Singularity participant?
If you're watching Hell on Wheels, you probably hear that.
So did anybody notice the amount of alpha characters being created after, was it Falcon's announcement about getting the, you-know-what?
Oh, the ships. Because
the pacifiers.
The ships were something that, it's funny because it was unintended, but
Wills,
ships,
by the way.
one per
Good show.
account, totally amplified the anger towards ghost training, because now these skill farmers that had hundreds of accounts were getting hundreds of ships and selling them for, at the time, billions. I think one sold for 1.2 billion. I'm not sure all of them sold like that, of course, but the point was it re-emphasized the problem, and that might have been why there was so much anger behind it. Because why should there be anger? CCP said there was going to be those ships available to everybody a little bit down, further down.
Did we just shift off into
Yeah, we
Pacifier
did.
Gate?
Yeah, we did.
Were we supposed to or not?
No, we could, because it's actually, it's actually.
I think it's
quite
part of the
connected.
same problem.
It's yeah.
Well,
the
it's
two
actually
are
connected.
kind
There's
of sort of related. Yeah.
Well, hold on. They're actually two separate issues, but with a bridge in the middle of them. What's the bridge?
The everybody getting a pacifier if you
The
went
fact
to
that you're mad
FanFest.
about it?
No, the fact that I'm mad about it is not the bridge. The bridge in between the two of them is that farmers who were farming skill points, right, were likely to have anywhere from 50 to 400, potentially, depending on who you listen to out there, 1,000 characters. Now divide by 3 and pull up the number of accounts that means, right? So on the one side, you could have some of them who are dealing with the ghost training exploit, and on the other side, what you have is if they went to FanFest, the deal
Or
was
coming to Vegas.
well,
yeah.
let's not talk about Vegas just yet, because we don't know how that's going to work out. The deal was if you bought a ticket to FanFest, you were going to be eligible, if you bought it as of January 1st, 2017, you were going to be able to be eligible for a pacifier and an enforcer, okay? For a ticket, for the ticket you bought, you were going to get that. Now, if you bought it after January 1st, you were only going to get, I think it was the pacifier. However, when they decided to give out these ships, at no time from when people bought ships, at no time at FanFest, at no time up until the day that they decided to give out ships, did they tell anybody anything different than you buy a ticket, you get a package. And then when they give out the stuff, they say, oh, for every account associated with the email address of the ticket buyer.
Well, they did say before that these were going to be making their way so that other people could buy them. There's going to be a lot of them there. Why not funnel that through the people that are your hardest core fans that are coming to your fan fests?
Why not follow the deal that you set when you began to sell tickets to FanFest? Why change it up at the end and then act like just the fucking norm?
Did they give a reason why?
They have not given a reason why, okay? There's one of two reasons why, right? One is they fucked up and just did it that way. The other one is they made a different decision. The problem is that if they made a different decision, then we can get into the whole thing of, oh shit, did you make a bad decision? Why did you do this? Did you do it to flood the market with more ships that they wouldn't be as valuable for the people that went to FanFest, that you encouraged to buy to get them on the tickets? The flip side of it would be, if you had done it the original way, well, the flip side of it would actually, I can't remember now what the flip side of it would be. There was a flip side. I had a flip side. Jesus fucking Christ! I get myself all fucking tongue-tied
You know
talking
what,
about
you're
this
really-
shit sometimes.
You're really tired, right?
No, I'm not doing a fucking shot right now because it's like, no, yeah, I am tired. I have not had a lot of fucking sleep
Yeah.
today, but
it's an hour in.
yeah, it's fine.
Dang, that
Whatever.
was an hour already.
Look, the fact of the matter is, okay, anyways, I want to go back to the bridge. The bridge is that some of those farmers, okay, who may be getting caught up in the ghost training exploit may have also gone to FanFest. So the bridge is that those people who were ghost farmers, okay, got a whole bunch of damn ships. There was one guy put it out on Reddit, apparently had 155 ships. That one I actually believe. The one that showed like 4,000 ships, I think that's bullshit. All right. But the fact is that if you were a ghost farmer, and they put this out afterwards, if you were a ghost training exploit farmer who also went to FanFest with all of your freaking accounts linked, and you got a whole shitload of ships, they're coming after your ships too. So that actually came after the fact. So that's the bridge between the whole thing between ghost farming and Pacifier Gate.
Well, somebody here, I'll find his name in a second, made another bridge, which is that they're using all those funds to train up Rorqual pilots.
That
That's not wise.
is not wise. That'd be like turning into a carrier right now.
Yeah, get in a carrier, bud. Good ISK.
Make all the is.
260 mil ticks.
I still want to make that gif of somebody playing whack-a-mole, but have it like every mole that comes up, it's like carriers, Rorquals, and it's just a Nerf bat smashing them back down.
So do you think they decided that they didn't want a super overinflated ship, right?
You mean a ship that is sort of endgame and like you have to work really hard to get into? They don't want that to make money.
Right. They don't want that on the market. They want something more like the Gnosis, where everybody had a chance to get a fucking Gnosis.
Well,
so they made it one account instead of one ticket.
I think the progression with the Rorqual was when they made capital changes, they wanted to breathe new life into capital ships. The Rorqual got left out because it has boosting. So I think they wanted to rework boosting before they figured out how to fix the Rorqual. And they wanted to do it upright because it hadn't been a ship that people, used except in one way for a long time. Like it really was only... It served multiple purpose before, right? It had a cloning bay. It could crunch rocks and compress them so that your asteroids were, you could basically move minerals around a lot better after using its compression. And it was also a booster and a hauler. Nobody really used it as a hauler because you don't want to get it killed. So you parked it inside of a pause, let it sit there to boost the mining fleets that were out all around the system. When they changed...
No, that's what you would use it for, as a hauler. It's a poor man jump freighter.
Well, okay, yeah, because it was cheaper than a jump freighter, and it had the same distance, and I think it was economical as well. But it didn't carry nearly as much. It was about 1/5 or something. The point is, they wanted to do it upright and give it its day in the sun, I believe, and so that's why you saw it come out OP, right? Because nobody was really trained up to do it, at 100% capacity. After it came out,
the other part of that was that it was right after FozzieSoft came out, and everybody was bitching about, well, why the fuck should I own Soft? So they changed anomalies, and they changed ore, and they changed the Rorqual so that you could actually live in your space and self-sustain. And now they're nerfing that Rorqual to the point where you almost can't. As a small group, as a large group, you fucking can. That obviously, look at Delph.
We had this argument last week, though, where it was like, oh, CCP
we have this argument every
everybody
week
to go cram into tiny bits of space, so they made some ships that you could do that, and then nobody was moving, and it was
Hold on a
super
second.
crammed together, and now they're mad at that, and they're mad at the amount you can make.
I think you miss. They didn't need you to cram into other types of space. They gave that as a fucking gift, okay? That said, if you want to play with this new FozzieSoft thing, which is a completely different goddamn animal, okay? And if you're bitching about the fact that people are going to come doorbell ring on your, using an Entosis, all right, that you're probably not going to want it to control as much space as you had. And the cry was, then we need systems that will support more people so that we can contract.
Yeah.
They didn't tell you, we want you to contract. It was a need from the people who were too overly spread out to not get their asses steamrolled because they had too much space.
Yeah, that definitely came from the players who were saying space wasn't worth it. So, and that was right at the beginning of... I don't even know if Sov launched... It did launch, and then they updated it. Is that right? It was really close
like
to the
3
beginning.
months later.
Yeah, it was really close. It wasn't much time. So they gave that gift right away. The Rorqual still needed to wait for boosts to get redone, but once it was redone, they needed to put it out there. If they're going to put it out there, they got to give it a purpose. If you're going to be a Rorqual pilot, you're not just going to sit there and help everybody else. You actually want to be able to do something. So then they gave it a massive amount of mining capability. And, okay, it's OP at mining, but that's fine because a lot of materials need to get out there for...
Does it? Was the
I think
supply
so.
of minerals in the game underfunded? Was there an undersupply of minerals in the game in order
There was
to
no
support construction?
undersupply. There was no undersupply of minerals, but the logistics to get it out where you needed it was more difficult because of the reduction in jump range.
It was
to capital
And also
for jump freighters.
Not for jump freighters.
No, the jump freighters initially, and then they rolled that back, right?
Well, pretty instantly, though. They actually
they
nerfed
rolled
it.
jump freighters back
really
about 10%
fast
and
change.
have never touched them since.
Yeah, they really never got
dialed that
nerfed.
back. Well, they
The
did for
logistics
first
of people
couple of
living
days.
What they
in the
did
back
was
ends of the
they
drone
changed the whole
lands.
compression and reprocessing thing. Okay. My God, I swear to God, everything is fucking history this week. This entire
I
week
know.
is like, does anybody remember what actually happened that led up to
Because
the
you have
things
to
that
know
they're bitching
you
about?
have to know the backstory of all this shit if you're gonna bitch about the changes. If you're just gonna bitch about the changes for no reason,
So
just
do you know the
you're not just
backstory?
bitching. Yeah, the logistics were nerfed for people who are living in the fucking drone lands. So if you have 2 mids before you
with a
even
jump
get to
freighter.
fucking low sec with a jump freighter, if you have 2 mids before you even get to low sec, how are you gonna fucking self-sustain in that area when you can't even get to where the fucking minerals are, which is high sec? Buy your minerals, ship them back in, and build your shit. So if you can't do that, well, let's give you something where you can do that. So here's the fucking Rourke wall. Here's
You
the
think they
fucking
did it? You think
excavator
they did it for the
drones.
drone regions?
Yeah, guaranteed.
Okay.
Where else?
No, Poxbox, we're not about to go maximum fucking overdirt. It's just not. Oh no, yeah, I'm sorry.
Well, the
Poxbox said
other
we're
nerf
not at
too,
maximum
or I don't know if
overdirt
it
yet.
was a nerf.
We are absolutely not.
It wasn't a nerf, but when you like melt down like all those rail guns, 150 or the 220 rail guns forever, you could just take tons and tons of those, and you just melt them down, and you get minerals there. You didn't have to mine,
But
so
not
they
everybody
killed
likes
that.
to do PVE like ratting, right? Like they had to do something for
Right.
miners. You can't
No,
just
you-
like say fuck the miners, whatever.
Well, you guys
Not-
are
you don't have to
mixing
fucking
couldn't
miners.
do that in the drone lands either because there's no
I mean,
fucking
they've
loot
always
that comes out of them.
consistently nerfed that kind of like local mineral production, though. As he said, they nerfed mineral compression back when you could use scrap metal reprocessing to make, I think
Tons
it's like
of
a
minerals.
90% efficiency just to transfer minerals from high sec to anywhere.
And then,
They also
oh my
nerfed
God,
gun
they
mining
created
back
this
in the day.
weird thing called compressed ore, and they like heightened the level of compression of it.
Yeah.
And out in Nullsec, they actually created a bunch of low-end minerals in the ores that were out there that didn't really exist before. They did a whole bunch of goddamn things. At no point did they need to. They had already done a number of things that made it so that, you know what? Look, no region out in this game should be self-sufficient. That was a fucking
Why
gift.
not?
I'm a nullsec guy because that is not where any place in fucking imagination is. Okay,
Is that not what
you can have
Nullsec
as
is
much
supposed to
maple
be?
syrup and freaking oil tar sands as you want. Okay, but guess what? There are certain things you don't have, like I don't know,
Oil tar
cotton.
sands.
So therefore, you freaking trade shit.
Who wants oil
Cotton
tar
wants?
sands for cotton?
Who
that's
People,
uses
people who don't want to
cotton?
make freaking shirts out of tar sand and maple syrup.
That's
We
a
use
Canadian analogy.
polyester.
He's trying to bash Canada again. That's
Oh,
fine.
okay, okay.
I wasn't trying to bash Canada. I'm saying that, you know what? Look,
You were.
there is no place that has all the things. There's no place that has all the things in the quantities that can support all the people.
Right.
So that's why
But you
have
could have
things
picked a
like
better
trade,
export for
okay?
Canada.
But in this case, it was a gift. It was a gift on a multiple number of levels, okay? About
Well,
how
now they're
things can be
they're Indian givers. Then
self-sustaining.
they're ungifting us the gift for no good fucking reason.
They're
other
not
than because
ungifting
of
you the gift
reasons.
because you know what? You didn't need a capital mining vessel in order to achieve the number of minerals that you were mining. What you would have just needed to do was throw manpower at it. And instead of throwing manpower
Not everybody
at it,
has
they gave
manpower.
you a ship so that, you know what? We could throw manpower and the ship at it. And I'm not blaming this on fucking goons. Goons do it the right way. Other places out there have been able to benefit from it as well. This was a bad decision from an economic standpoint, just like it is a bad decision to expand the number of anomalies in every nullsec system in the game by 75% from 20 to 35 in the lead up to Aegis sovereignty, and then also, a few months later, give them fighters that can rape those anomalies to the point where, guess what? It starts to begin to throw off the freaking whole goddamn bounty system and the money supply, and they then have to crack. And then what we do is we end up to the late spring of impotent nonsense, where people are bitching about their own freaking, I'm a millennial, this is for me, high-end income streams, and then a bunch of other
Millennial?
shit goes down.
Dirk, please. Everyone knows only old men play EVE Online, not millennials.
I know. But it's the millennial mindset. It's the millennial mindset of,
You're admitting you're
this
old
is
then.
about me. This is about my income. This is about what I'm getting out of things.
I mean, that's
and
what
I'm
baby
gonna bitch
boomers
about it.
have always been, Dirk. I think you mean the baby boomers of EVE Online.
No, they're too busy wrecking the housing markets and destroying the economy for us.
That is true. That is true.
It takes a lot of work. You don't have time to just be selfish. You got to do it. You got to wreck the economy for everyone. Well, the
So why wouldn't
Anyway,
they just add a
so-
ship roll bonus like minus 30% NPC bounties instead of fucking
Well-
with the fighters, and then dropping the whole NPC aggression on your fighters thing.
Okay, well, because what they
Funny you
don't want to
ask.
do is this. Okay, what they don't want to do is this. All right, they could sit there and say, you know what, fighters cannot hit these things, right? That's not what they want to do,
That's not
right?
what I'm
Because
saying.
because they're still playing a sandbox game here. What they want you to do is make a decision, okay? If the decision that you have to make is this is the amount that I can get in ticks, but this is how many fighters I might lose to an increased level of aggression on my
They
fighters.
dropped that.
Now I have to sit there and quantify this and say, well, really,
did.
what is my net tick per hour?
We're arguing.
But that's
something
what they originally
dropped
wanted
it,
to
though.
do.
They dropped that.
They got
part
rid of
they
it.
stayed with the DPS nerf, and you even tweeted it. I'm like, well, maybe they're using PVE as a cover, and they're actually nerfing fighters for PvP because now there's no impact on PvE.
No, I think that's just CCP caving, saying, okay,
CCP
back
caved.
off. Yeah, back off. Don't turn this into a
CCP
big
caved, and
fight.
you guys will, you know, this will be revisited again. Okay, now maybe, and look, the problem with the fighters nerf, okay, was that it was a simple-minded nerf. Okay, it was basically, what can we nerf? Well, let's nerf the fighters. Now, if they actually legitimately 100% believe that fighters are overpowered, okay, then they had a right to kill two birds with one stone. We can take an effect on PvE, which we want to do, and we can take an effect on PvP. But there's a lot of people out there that don't believe that that is true. They don't believe that fighters. This has not been some sort of rage aspect. Oh man, these things are OP. There's all kinds of threads out there and that kind of thing. But you know what? If that's what CCP thinks, fine. They killed two birds with one stone. But what they backed off of when they took off from the increased aggression was they took off the primary target that they listed, which was the effects on PvE. So we're going to revisit this again. It is coming. It will eventually come. Now, maybe they will also get smart and look at other aspects out there regarding the environment, that if you give too many goddamn anomalies in the system, if you give too many anomalies that are high quality, that it creates this whole thing. But then we also get into the next effect of, but you wanted to drive higher population density. So now how do you balance for that?
Well,
you know what they should do before the next nerf? They should form this like democratically elected sort of panel of players, and then maybe consult
Like
with
a
them
I don't know.
previously,
I don't know
like
if that
right,
would work.
like
It'd just be a
before they do the
stupid
nerf.
popularity contest.
be like a
Maybe it
council?
will, and maybe the blocks will just elect their fucking guys and put them in there. But maybe some smart dudes will be in there as well. I don't know.
No,
I
because
can call it
it
like-
won't happen like that.
Maybe
You could call it
that,
like the
maybe that committee
council,
might have been told
or like some
a couple
some
of
sort
days
management,
before.
like a
Yeah.
council of management.
some kind of management thing.
The Council of Space
Council of
Economic
Shit.
Advisors, that would
Something
actually
like
have to be
that.
an appointed council, not a voting
Well,
council. Because voters
Yeah,
are
we can't do
dumb
that
and they
then.
won't vote in smart economic people.
We won't call it that then.
Well, what they're going to do, I think, and it's just a think, but I think they pulled that off the table because that was angering people. Why was that angering?
Actually, after that, LB, I'm gonna take a shot and I'm gonna go for a rant.
All right. So
yes,
then,
a gin rant.
so
Get
then
your
what they're
beard
going to
going, boy.
do, what they're going to do
All right.
is reintroduce that or something like it with another incentive, so that it's not just a takeaway, but they actually give something back, so that people don't get so hostile.
Want to thank our listeners, by the way. We just did a shot.
All right,
That shot was for thanking our
motherfucker.
listeners.
Okay,
Go ahead.
clear-
Go ahead,
clear
Jin. Give
comms,
us what
clear
you got.
comms, It's Jin's turn.
Motherfucker, do you not think that we sat there and we told CCP these ideas are dumb? Please do not do them. Because I will tell you, we said this is not going to solve your issues. You have an issue with X and you're nerfing Y because you think Y is X. We have consistently told the same things that the player base does. It's just that on balance decisions, they're very hesitant to listen to the CSM because other people fucked it up in the past.
Well, that doesn't mean you guys are right, because you're players, and players are angry, and you're a representative of players, and you're angry. But that doesn't mean you're right. They could actually be right because they have the numbers and that's information that they look at.
I think that's one of the things that has driven, and we're actually beginning to breach into kind of the next thing, right? Is this the summer of rage or is it the late spring of mild discontent, right? The whole idea that back in the original summer of rage, right? One of the big problems was communication. One of the big problems back then was that the CSM was not the CSM today, of today, where there was actually relatively good communication. Now, whether or not people listen is a completely different freaking story. I don't know, Jen. I absolutely believe, okay, that members of this CSM, especially the ones that I know, were actually saying those things. And this is why things like the CSM matter. Things like the EVE media matter when they actually say some fucking shit out there, okay? And the players, what we would hope to do is not get them into a rage. We don't need the summer of rage. You know what we need? The summer of logical fucking conversation.
Blah.
But let them know that we're fucking serious.
That's really what the CSM has to exist for. Like, this whole early spring of mild discontent has been incredibly useful because it's let us kind of show.
Late spring. Sorry.
Yeah,
if I said
'cause, like-
early, I didn't mean that. Late spring.
Yeah, sorry. The late spring of mild discontent has been great for the CSM. Not like this past week, because holy fucking shit, I hate having to deal with things and people come at me like I agree with everything CCP does, because I don't. That's just never going to be the way it is. That's life. You know, you're an advisory council. You're not going to like everything that happens, but you know, it let us kind of put some more pressure on things that we have consistently been saying since the start of CSM 11, on things like balance and on things like what I think is CCP tunnel visioning.
Did anything
on
ever
Citadels.
get discussed about the fact that they're focused so much on people actively ratting and playing their game in carriers and making a lot of money, as opposed to the people running 10 VNI AFK accounts and not even playing the game, making just as much, if not more?
Well, hold on. If you're,
No,
if
that
you're
is-
CCP,
that is
which would you
actually
rather have?
incorrect, Drunk.
Well, no, I already know
like,
the answer. It's kind of
yeah.
rhetorical. They're getting more money from that guy.
No. All right. That's right. That's right. You know
No,
what? You know what?
motherfucker, shut up!
No, that's exactly
that-
what it is. It's a business, right? They don't give
that
a shit
whole
about the
idea.
AFK
Hold on.
ratter
And you know what?
running 10
And this is kind of one of
Okay,
the
so when-
tinfoil
when
things. This is kind of one of the
carriers-
tinfoil things where you're absolutely correct, but in the same thing you're absolutely wrong. Because as much as we would like to tinfoil that they're doing it about income, all right? You could take the other case and say, you know what? Look, there are people who are in a bunch of alliances out there, okay, who are ratting in things like VNIs and Ishtars, okay, or whatever the hell it is that they're in out there ratting. And they hear a nerf to something like fighters, and they're getting charged up because their leadership's getting charged up, or because people around them are getting charged up. And what they should be saying is, nah, I'm okay with them nerfing your goddamn fighters, because you know what? I'm a blue-collar goddamn Ishtar guy, and all I want to do is make my own income. I don't give a shit if they fucking tax the rich.
Yeah.
I love that.
But that's not what's happening.
Jinton gets going. His mic can't handle the volume, so it breaks.
I need to do this in like real life, just like actually rant in real life, but I can never do it because I'm way too polite and English about
Yeah,
it.
you're worse than fucking Drayden, and he's like muted.
He is usually muted
Yeah.
for his things.
Actually, your words were great. Your ability to like project, like, it needs work.
My ability to project.
I think he's great.
Danko just said Brooklyn. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I put my
like-
fucking union hat on there. I
At
don't
the
know.
end of the day, the CSM is going to be as useful as fucking CCP lets us be. That's the end of the day.
Yes,
So
and that
not
has
at
been.
all.
And right now
Well,
they're,
well,
they're letting
actually,
us
that's
be
not
very
true,
fucking
because
useful,
you know
but
what?
hey.
Honestly, Matterall, with the work that we did on what happened with the Summer of Rage and things like that. Look, what the CSM was worth prior to the Summer of Rage was when people talk about a glorified whatever the hell it is, that was prior to the Summer of Rage. The Summer of Rage CSM 6, which just happened to be, chaired by the Matani, and had people on it like Vile Rat and UAX Death and
Selena.
Trevor and stuff like that, right? Whether they used the opportunity of the moment or not to like go after a weekend CCP is a different story. But what they did do was they built kind of on that for the CSMs that came after that. Now, some CSMs after that abused the strength that particular CSM kind of garnered. But you guys, the last two CSMs, and I think it's why a number of you were like, re-elected back this, because you
Why would you
actually
post that,
have
Jeremy?
the type of relationship that was always meant.
Well,
What's that, Paul?
I actually would take it
Why would
back
you post
even
that?
a couple CSMs before 6. Like 4, the first 3 were basically beauty pageants, you know, who's popular on campus kind of thing. They were ineffectual. They were consulted, but it was a focus group. Really only talked when they were talked to. That's the design of it. They were just kind of there to be talked to if some developer said, let me get an opinion of some players. These were kind of high-powered players that they could talk to. But with CSM4, my understanding was that they're the ones that said, hey, you got to let us in. We need to be stakeholders. So they won that right, but not for themselves. They won it for the next group, which was CSM5. That was a record turnout because now they were stakeholders, and Minxie won that election along with Ankh, who you guys remember was let go because of NDA violations a long time ago. And there were a few others in there. And they basically raised hell because they were the ones that were watching Incarna be developed, or rather not developed. And so it got really ruckus. So when Matani sees like that CSM5 has gone, you know, batshit crazy, people are like, you know, there's a lot of contention between CCP and CSM. I think probably it's like there's a high profile position. It's a chairmanship. Let me take it over and kind of fix this because I'm a fixer and I'm going to fix it. Comes into office with his crew. Vile comes with him, and so does you know, not that they're friends, but Celine is also there. So Nullsec is now interested in this CSM process. They take it over, and boom, Incarna hits, and they have to deal with that. What becomes the Summer of Rage, because it all in progression shows that all the things that happened show that CCP was out of touch, hadn't developed anything, and was failing to deliver on not just any expansion, but the expansion. Walking in Stations was supposed to be the expansion that was going to open up the doors to other kinds of players coming into the universe, and we were going to see first-person shooters, and we were going to see a giant collection of a variety of gameplay, and that was going to be a big, big deal. Only that when it got delivered, it was perceived as a cash grab because you had Incarna, which only let you really buy expensive clothes off the store that they put up there. And so all that looked like was a microtransaction shop. And that was not enough. And there was a lot of things that went wrong. And you can find all that out in the article that we wrote for Imperium News, but it just went up today. But that was kind of like what happens with the CSM. It was 4 set it up, 5 try to use the power, and 6 inherited a broken system. And because of all the players behind CSM, CCP flipped the fuck over. And CCP has really been a lot more open with their communication since then. So yeah, Gentan, you're facing, you know, people that won't listen to you and stuff, but the amount of access you have compared to what was going on
immensely different.
Yeah, wholly different.
Yeah, I mean, like, and you know, and this is one of the cases of as much as CSM 10 may have been ultimately a disaster. Okay, you know, and CSM 9 may have potentially led to 10 being a disaster. You guys stand on the fucking shoulders of the people that came before. Look, I think that CSM 5 actually stood up and began to try and do some things, but they had no power. They had nothing to wield. It was not until the Summer of Rage plus a CSM filled with large personalities, actually grabbed what they could at the time, and shit built from there on out. Okay, it got abused at times. It absolutely got abused at times when people thought they had more leverage than what they did. The CSM is never going to be something that has a vote in anything. However, it has to have a voice that they are willing to work with CCP, that they are willing to talk with the community, not abuse their position in some way, because we know, look, it's not a vote.
Yeah, like I think people underestimate the impact that we do have, because a lot of what the modern CSM does, especially like CSM 8, CSM 7, 8, and to a degree 9 had the benefit of what they did being very, very public. You know, they're very publicly disagreeing with CCP, but CCP's kind of gotten better at bringing the CSM earlier into the process, and in a lot of things other than balance, and that's because balance is kind of in a weird state right now, which is why we've been fighting with CCP to try and change the way that CCP as a company kind of views balance, if that makes any sense.
Alec actually out in Twitch made a good point. He said CSM5 was a losing battle. There was no stopping the ship going into the iceberg. It was only a matter of what came next, and CSM6 stepped up. I would absolutely fucking concur with that. CSM5 saw it coming, probably said, don't do this, okay? And there are some indications that they absolutely said, don't do this or change this or
it's
whatever.
well documented.
It's well, yeah, it's actually well documented. Okay, Minxie was the chairperson of that at the time, and CSM6 was in the right place at the right time.
They could have failed too, so they did succeed.
Well, they could have.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
They
if
could have
succeeded,
because honestly, CSM6 without the community, okay, the players out there being as enraged as they were at the time, was probably impotent as well.
I'm eternally grateful for everyone on CSM6 who didn't kind of like kowtow to CCP's line. I think it's important to note like how much balls that takes and how much that empowered future CSMs.
Well, I don't know if it was okay. Not to take anything away from Matani, but I don't know if he had much of a choice. He's not going to be co-opted by CCP. That flies in the face of everything he is. So of course he was going to. And a lot of people.
You say that. My understanding is that as
down.
the entire Summer of Rage was brewing, Matani wanted to sit back, and Celine said, "Nut up, bro."
Is that right?
No. I just totally fucking made that up right there.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Nut up, bro.
I don't know.
Well, since you said it,
Yeah.
I guess now I have to.
Matani was shaking in a corner, and Celine came over and fucking grabbed him and said, "Dude, I can't do it as vice chairman."
Did he grab him by the red shirt and said, "Nut up"? brah?"
Nut up, red shirt.
And then they went clubbing together and lived happily
Yeah,
ever
exactly.
after.
Nut up, red shirt. Jump into the cave.
Well,
That's so good.
he could he actually when I was living through it, I was looked at Matani and I was like, oh, what an ass. He's totally like taking the side of all these people who are complaining that don't share my complaint, because I was like, give CCP some time, maybe they'll make this better. But people
Where's the spin zone graphic?
there was
I
no,
totally
like-
needed that when I said it.
yeah, there was a lot of representation for everybody that was mad, but there wasn't any representation for people who weren't mad, and that really bothered me. So when it was very public and they put him up there in
Welcome to
front of
Reddit.
everybody, that was like a big show
People
to say,
don't
calm
tend to
down.
speak out when they're happy.
No, but there's kind of like there was some people that didn't like Incarna, but weren't about to throw CCP out under the bus yet.
There were actually a lot of people. I'm going to be honest. At that time, okay, so this show, back when it was the DJ Big Country show, which hadn't been around for that long at the time, when we were talking about things related to this, I wasn't shooting some dumb monument in Jeddah. I didn't have time for that shit. Okay, I was too busy freaking like doing drone alloys out in the drone regions. All right, but like
I'm making my money.
yeah, making some ISK, baby. All right, but the whole idea that everybody supported the Summer of Rage, they didn't. There were certain things where, just like today, again, if you're a Vexor Navy issue pilot, you shouldn't give a shit what somebody's doing to the high income of a goddamn fighter or supercarrier pilot, okay? However, there were other elements that we did care about. But, and I remember in the early episodes of this show debating things like monetization and gold ammo that, came out, which was all part of and this is kind of weird, right? Here's this point where we're talking about the Summer of Rage, and one of the biggest things that drove anger at that time was a leak.
2 leaks.
Was a leak of the Hilmar email, and was a leak of the internal Fearless document that talked about monetization, where they were just like, spitballing about monetization, and that got leaked out in conjunction with the Next Store, made it seem like maybe the Next Store is just the first step in them selling us gold ammo and shit. It got people all worked the fuck up.
And that's the problem, because those memos were from 2010, right? So all the information in those memos is outdated, because by the end of 2010, CCP had said, no gold ammo. There won't be any pay to win. It's going to be pure vanity stuff. So that was a settled thing, maybe not communicated very well. So when those memos leaked, people thought they were current or something and said, look, they lied to us. They're going to actually.
Well, because when people paste bin shit and whatnot, they don't put the details in there that might make you think, oh shit, this didn't just happen, like Incarna gets released on June 21st, 2011, which by the way is the summer solstice. So therefore it was the Summer of Rage, not the late spring like we're in now. Okay. That gets released on June 21st, right? Literally the next day, this leak comes out of an older document. And people think like, damn, on release day, I can't believe they're talking about gold ammo.
So somebody in CCP was leaking and doing a lot of damage to the company. And I think actually the person that received the leak and put it out on Twitter was Helicity Boson, who did Ulkageddon. Immediately banned, by the way, right after that permanently.
Hold on. We've got some legit, it's either fake news or like, whatever, okay? Bottom line, the leaks were from CCP to test the waters. End of story.
I've heard
Premo, but I'm too old to know what Premo means.
I've heard the reverse theory is that because they knew they had spent a year developing Incarna through World of Darkness and gotten nowhere, that they needed to have an out, so that CCP actually engineered the anger.
Oh, premium ammo. Sorry.
Yeah, engineered the anger to empower players to force them to turn and fix the game. And then they could kind of get away with not having anything for Incarna because they kind of whipped themselves with the players in the process. That was like really far-fetched tinfoiling, but some people did think that.
We know because history has gone on, and therefore some like documents have been released because like their whole got taken off, right? We know that considerations like for things like skill injectors probably would have come across earlier had the backlash from 2011 not occurred. Okay, so in 2011, I swear to God, people may have wanted some stuff that was vanity items that could be paid for, and then they screwed that up by coming out with things like $70 monocles, $70 worth of Aurum to buy monocles, hence Monocle Gate. But had that gone smoother, we would have seen things like injectors maybe even sooner. However, the backlash was so big; it was huge. There was like massive stuff out there regarding that, and it went on for years. Whenever there was anything related to anything pay to win, even though the debate over something like Plex, which was the absolute big in on the whole monetization game, allowing outside money to influence something that happened in game, happened in late 2008. So it's like Plex had already been let in the door. The vampire was already there, and he's walking around your house and going to suck your wife's neck. I mean, it was like, whoa, it was inevitably going to come.
Or husband.
Or husband, or like, partner, or,
significant other, your dog,
Yeah.
By the way, I just want to say something about something someone put in the chat, that VR is a niche market and CCP is never going to make a big profit from it, because I hear that a lot. Like, go and look at CCP's financials, because they are freely available to the public. You just have to
don't ask our viewers. Go read the financials.
It's a private company, though, right?
No,
that's
yeah, but
public
that's not how
information.
how Iceland works. You can actually go and request their financials.
Spectre,
you have to request it.
Spectre
you can
06,
request it,
you're
but
absolutely
it's up there on
you're absolutely you're absolutely correct in that Plex was a tool for limiting RMT. However, it was also a tool for other things. It was a tool for CCP. Look, you're never going to stop RMT, people. Okay, all these RMT warriors out there that think that you can stop it, like it's the war on fucking drugs or the war on terror or the war on whatever the hell you want to call it, you can't stop it. However, what you can do is try and mitigate it. All right, Plex was a tool for mitigating RMT, and that was one of the things that they tried to sell out there at the time regarding real money trading, right? But what we know is that here now, years later, after all of this, Colombia is still producing coke the way that these other countries are still producing people that will mine things and skill injector things and make money and still sell it to make their hovel bigger.
That's one of the big things, the big ironies about the Summer of Rage is people were on fire to stop, mainly to stop the Eve from changing to this pay to win model, and then years later,
Summer of Rage was build a wall, bro. That's what we were saying back then. We didn't know it, but that's what we meant.
we didn't want avatars in. And years later, we have that in the form of skill injectors that are a lot more. Now you don't have to buy a character and suffer a bad name or suffer skills you don't need. Now you can actually customize your character by using skill injectors. In a sense, that's pay for access. And pay for access in EVE is kind of like pay to win. If you can access a Rorqual, you can probably access, in certain situations, if you join the right place, you can access the high income generator, and you're winning EVE.
100% pay to win. Everybody, they mask it as pay to access, but it's pay to win. Because if two people start playing at the same time, and those two people fight, and one of them's been injecting, and one of them doesn't, whether that guy knows what he's doing or not, he's still going to be able to fly better stuff and use better modules than the other player, and he will always be ahead. Whether it's World of Tanks or whatever, and you buy like premium ammo and all that other shit, like yeah, a player not buying that shit can win if he's better skilled, but the other player that's paying will have an advantage, which is pay to win.
Yep. Which is pay to win.
EVE hides it as pay to access, but whether it's buying a character or skill injecting or buying Plex, it's still fucking pay to win.
And Matterall, I would appreciate if you would please go back into the Twitch chat. Would you scroll up and look at Hyperlight, and would you please educate him on we need full sentences, we need paragraphs if you can form them, but would you please not put 3 words per sentence? This is a grammar appropriate channel.
You're a grammar appropriate channel.
No, I mean like I'm sorry. If it takes you 4 fucking lines to like get 8 words across, there's an issue.
Yeah, we have a rule in Targeting Station's Discord about that too. You can't do that kind of abbreviated stuff. But
over there, I'm a fucking hero because Matterall's like type like Dirk.
Yeah,
One
exactly.
paragraph,
That's the example.
Get your thought across.
Right. Don't press return
Not like
until
here,
your
where
thought's
Dirk's
complete.
not your fucking role model.
And to Drunk Canadian's point, he's right. It is pay to win. That's what we were fighting. Now we have it, and we love it. So,
well,
sometimes
some
the
people
players
love
aren't
it.
right.
Some people hate it. But the thing is, not
Like
everybody's
many.
ever going to be happy, right? Like, and this is CCP's half of the problem is that people will complain about things and they try to appease everybody, and end up fucking everything up.
How do we know if people liked it? Do they use it? And it's been used to the tune of $5 million in 2016. That's a success.
But from a company aspect, whether the players like that or not, that's a business win. And I don't think it's going to go away. Because at the end of the day, CCP is a company, and if they're making money and they're being profitable, then they're doing their job right, whether you're happy as a player or not.
Well, I think that's somewhat a disingenuous statement. Like CCP has a vested
Fuck you,
interest.
Canadian.
You think CCP is
Disingenuous bastard.
gonna go out of business
gonna
appeasing
go-
the
no,
players?
I'm not-
No, of course not.
No, because he wasn't being disingenuous. He was just saying something that I feel gives the wrong impression.
But it's the
He's not.
it's
he's
a
not
realistic.
measuring it, is what I'm saying.
It's a realistic impression of what a company is trying to do. What is CCP trying to do as a company? They're trying to make money and be profitable. Are they doing that through skill injectors? Then yes, then they're not going to change that. But if something comes up in the game and it starts costing them money, they're 100% going to address that sooner than something that's making them money and people aren't happy about.
Yeah, that's fair. But I think it is
That's a
important
fact, man.
to bear in mind that if you make people unhappy, they will no longer continue to buy your product unless your product.
But
is
look at the super
physically
changes, and,
addictive.
and they lost all those fucking players that, like, so many super pilots and everything like that when they brought in jump fatigue and all that shit, and they lost those guys. But those guys weren't paying for the game anymore. They were making enough in game, so they were losing players, but they weren't losing players that were paying CCP anymore. So they didn't really give a shit.
Well, Plex is payment to CCP.
Yeah, it's like
Well,
fossil
yeah,
fuels.
it is in sort of a roundabout way because somebody bought it and then they buy it from that guy. So technically, they're not
It's
losing.
because of how
But
deferred income works on a tax basis. It's like it doesn't become income to CCP until it's actually used.
yeah, I
Well,
get it.
actually,
Like
they
that
changed
Plex
the
isn't
tax.
We're
just
not going to do
imaginary.
space accounting tonight. We're not going to do space
Yeah,
accounting.
we can't do that.
We're not going to talk
Why
about
not?
deferred
Whatever.
income
We
and-
get how it works.
Oh,
Like those
Wayne
guys
is
are
here.
using
Wayne
in-game
is
money
here.
and they're still
We
getting
can
their
actually
money.
Talk about the difference between deferred income and cash on hand. However,
Liquidity.
Can we talk about it in the form of a
Long-term
fossil
capital
fuel?
gains.
Because like society lived.
can we talk
on
about depletion
one
in the
day,
form of fossil fuel?
Yeah, one day of sunshine. That's all we had. So that's as big as we could grow. As soon as we started digging up stored sunshine, then we.
Those were the
expanded
good
into
old
stuff.
days. Because I swear to God, when sunshine started coming out of the fucking earth, that was a nice time.
What the fuck did I just hear? Did I just like get
Stored
did I just drop
sunshine.
acid?
Dinosaurs, plants, all that stuff. The gas, the oil, all that stuff is stored sunshine.
What the fuck did I miss?
When we learn
Fossil
how to
fuels.
frack moons and Eve and create earthquakes on moons that like cause like Moonite people that live there to like, wonder what the fuck is that? That was a good time.
Start lighting up their taps.
Yeah.
Yo, have you seen those videos? Those videos are fucking wild. People like opening their taps and just like setting fire to the water coming out. That's like, whoa.
Yeah.
And by the way, his name I believe was Wolf Glenn because now he has the his that little
Yeah, he's been
Twitch
typing.
crown.
Because
Yeah.
now
He's
now
got
we
the
listen to
crown.
I know,
everything.
but I'm
He's
looking
got
at the
the
little
pyramid.
icons.
Everything he types, we
Is
listen
it
to.
the pyramid
now.
or is it the crown?
Both.
You get both of those? Oh yeah, you
I don't
get
know.
Subscriber,
The pyramid
you get
is-
subscriber pyramid, and then like
The
Twitch
crown
Prime,
is-
cool
The Twitch
crown.
Prime crown.
Yeah, that's that's from Twitch, and then the pyramid is from INN, and
Fracking baby, drill baby, drill.
That's a pyramid? I thought it was a Triforce.
it's from our old
What the
identity.
hell
which
is a Triforce?
Like
it
a
gonna
Legend of
switch
Zelda
I think
Triforce?
Zelda- Yeah, that's what it looks like. I don't see a pyramid. I see 3 pyramids stacked.
Yeah, but
all right,
What?
we'll take that. It's a Triforce.
Three
Okay.
pyramids stacked.
I'll settle on
Well,
Triforce.
those subscriber badges are going to change soon.
Oh, there's the pyramid. I was looking at the Pox box.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay.
Don't get on
Anyway,
fucking pox.
DC's totally right, and but what the irony is that what we
Words
were
never
fighting,
said before.
the
ah,
DC's
said
right.
no one ever. Yeah.
Good one.
He's
You got
totally
me.
right. He's sometimes right. He's like once in a while right. He's never been totally right.
I mean, a broken clock's right. What, twice a day?
Twice a day. And a blind squirrel finds a nut.
A blind nut finds a
Facts.
squirrel.
A blind what?
A blind nut shoots a squirrel.
Oh, fatherism.
Dirkisms. I love these.
Well, and the point is that
Hold on, Spectre 06, repeating for Dirk McGurk and
yeah.
Matterall. Huh. If it only said me, I wouldn't have read this, but because it had Matterall's name in there as well.
You
I'd make the
scapegoating
argument
Matterall.
that people like
Stoke your own ego.
People like injectors and don't mind them as much as they did Fear of Incarna and the next offering, Pay to Win. Basically Pay to Win. Because injectors are player created, whereas the possible premium ammo would be created out of game. Players had nothing to do with making it. Number one, any of those things that are spawned into this game, whether it be Plex back in the old days, whether it be fucking Aurum, whether it be injectors right now, whether it be any of that stuff, that only exists in this game because some dude with a wallet out there decided, you know what? I'm going to buy some shit so I can buy some ISK. It would not. Plex does not invent itself. Neither do injectors. Neither do extractors. It doesn't happen like that. You need both sides of an equation. This is something that we have. This is like fucking like algebra, people. You got to have two sides of an equation that you can work to, right? I mean, no, CCP does not spawn Plex. They don't spawn any of these things.
well,
Are you saying it's not pay to win then?
I'm saying that, you know what they created was a scenario where people with money could buy time and people with time can buy money.
yeah,
They can't buy real money. Only one person ever uses real money unless you're like a dirty freaking, person from some part of the world that is actually living off this and doing it illicitly. But they created a mechanism whereby two parties can trade things that each of them apparently needs.
yeah.
That's a market.
Especially with this player base, right? Because they're highly employable and they're typically older.
Now, Ice Slayer said, but CCP can seed the market with Plex and injectors, but they don't. Hold on. As far as we know, and look, I am a tinfoil guy at heart, okay? There's a part of me that wants to believe all this crazy shit, okay? I am pretty sure that they don't actually seed those things on a regular. They may have
But
jump-started something
CCP
at the first time.
created a system where you can open up your wallet, get a fucking skill injector because you're a senior player or a veteran player and you have all this fucking time. So you start.
I'm sorry. So somebody wants to make a
Drayden
donation.
subbed.
Drayden subbed.
No, we're not announcing Drayden subbing.
Inimical. If we donate to the INN support fund, what the fuck? Come on, people, stop typing. Can we specify it to go to the Able Gamers, or do you have to link it? I'm going to link it right now. Right now. Now?
Donate through Able Gamers?
No, there it is. That right there. People, please. And,
It'll be gone
if you
fast.
donate, I don't know. I don't give a shit what you saying it. Go suck a dick or whatever, but say, go suck a dick on behalf of Open Comms. Whatever. Just as long as you put Open Comms in there, I can then sit there and say next year, we are way bigger fundraisers than most of all of the other people that you have over the course of the next 72 hours.
Okay, wait.
And that's really
Well,
what
that's
matters.
gonna be hard.
Gamal Knox raised $4,000 when he streams.
Gamal Knox is literally an Able Gamer. Who would not give to Gamal Knox?
Okay, that's true.
Even
Sure.
I
Nice guy, go.
I did too.
think you should give to Gamal Knox.
I gave to him last year. Good.
I gave it to
Exactly.
Oz.
Gave to him when he was buying
Last
his
year
freaking
and this
car,
year.
man. When he got that Maserati and was like rolling around, that was badass.
Yeah, but
I mean, that van.
I did my slacktivism, efforts this year, so I feel good about myself.
Exactly.
Well, at least you have to think it.
Ice Slayer, I am almost a fucking Able Gamer. I gotta be honest. I'm like getting fucking close. I am.
But-
Deteriorating.
Did you want to cover other topics, or is this like?
Well, look, a
Because
lot
they're
of
kind
these
of all related.
here. Well, they are all related, right? A lot of the topics that we talked about, except for Able Gamers and except for wherever that fucking Keepstar is or whatever.
Aga.
Dirk is a drunk, and I cannot help that. Exactly. But you know what? Nobody has a fucking Dirk drunk fund. Okay, so you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna keep.
No one has-
Oh,
no one
we
has- no one
really
has-
should
like,
not
live in
start
the
that.
fucking green screen
Green
squalor
screen.
that I live in. Right. However, a lot of the
Squalor.
things that we talked about.
Green
tonight,
screen.
When you and I started to write, you and I and Noisy and the people that were involved with it, started to write that article the other day, right? We had a few things happen so far this year, right? We had the whole idea of something like, oh, this is the Summer of Rage. It's like, oh my God, could you, like, unoriginal people please come up with your own name? You are literally the pussy hat wearing Women's March of Eve this year so far, okay? The Summer of Rage actually happened back at a time when legitimate undercurrents of discontent eventually became rage. Not just when some people were hashtagactivism or whatever the fuck it's called, okay, their way to just saying things on social media. People actually did things. They did a few things. They actually made a scene and they unsubscribed in the numbers that they actually did back then. This is different now. Incredibly fucking different. And when we started doing this, we began to write the article saying, you people that want to call this the Summer of Rage, you are literally the fucking summer children of rage. That was the title. We actually had the title before we had the words behind it. However, a number of things happened after that. Things like the ghost training exploit debacle of how they were initially going to fucking handle it. The fact that they didn't handle it months ago. Things like Pacifier Gate, when they handed out all these ships to people that went to goddamn FanFest, when what it was supposed to be was one ship, one ticket. When they had the freaking Q incident in trying to fix the ghost training bullshit, okay? There were a number of things that happened after that, and that is kind of similar in a way. But what's really similar about then and now is not the actual issues that happened at the time. The actual thing that drove both then and now was a discontent rolling into a rapid series of negative events. Yeah, Matterall?
These things have momentum. Yeah, they have momentum. And you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of everybody in Eve in Nullsec, right? They're going to like just kind of poke at the border. If it breaks, then they move in. If it doesn't break, they're just having good fights. And I think this is the same thing. People are kind of heckling on,
The Inimical donated $50 over to the Able Gamers Fund. So you know what? Fuck it. Do it.
That's
Go.
really
Keep
good.
talking. Just keep talking. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Where are you
That's
getting this
fantastic.
info from? Have you been
I
watching?
actually took it from the source, and like now I won't do that. I'll wait until Rain tells me.
So basically, it's kind of like Nullsec in that they kind of prod and prod and prod, and then once it breaks, there's a flood, and that's kind of what these things are like. It's a kind of a mob mentality where people are just kind of like throwing insults out, and then it becomes rage, and then people, will approach will approach high-profile people and say, "What should we do? We want to get in on the action. Should we unsub for a month just to send a signal? Is that how we do it?" They're looking for that kind of leadership to make an impact because now it's a cause, and I guess they really want a cause. Before you unsub, write CCP a letter or talk to Jintan. Get CSM involved. I'm sure that they've discussed this. This has got to be on their radar. They're not the same company they were in 2011 where they wouldn't listen. They walked out of rooms. They wouldn't, they'd start threads and walk out of threads. Like that was CCP before. Why? Because CCP was an award-winning game company that had success after success after success, and they'd pumped their numbers up by 80,000 people in 2 years when everybody else was kind of going down or not going as fast. So the thing is that they thought they knew this is how you run a game. Even don't listen to what the players say. Listen to what they do. And
No, watch what.
that's
they
what
do.
Hilmar said. Watch what they do. Sorry.
Watch what they do. And
So
and
hold on.
And the worst part
Since the
is-
$50,
worst part about all
Jintan
that is
donated
that
10.
Neither side were right.
Wild
What? Go.
donated. So Jintan donated 10. Wild donated 20, and Jop4 donated 20. So $100 total
To here or to over there?
to over there since you linked that link.
Ah, it's weird.
Fucking.
Love you guys.
You know what? For any of you who are able to nut up and do shots for people who are actually giving to the goddamn charity that we asked them to.
You mean you don't like that Wolf gave Matterall $50 and said he didn't need to cut his lawn?
No, I did, and we
You
did
do
a
that to
fucking
me.
shot for that. We did a shot for that because that was totally golden. Because, well, actually, because it we have a thing where it's called gold, and Matterall has never seen that on the actual show he does. We
Very
will be
close.
telling him about how Drunk Canadian got $50 for
That's right.
Matterall carry. But for those of you who are actually out there freaking donating onto that site, you know what? Thank you so much. Honestly, you know what? We don't ask for money on this show. We don't ask for a fucking payment from you or anything like that. It's but if you can donate to the things that we actually beg you to fucking donate to, maybe 3-4 times a year, it's whatever. Fucking roll it out. Don't be a bitch.
Anyway, the money that does come into the show, Dirk uses that to buy T-shirts for people at events, and even goes.
I
into
have
his own
never
pocket.
used any money from this fucking show for
No?
anything related to what I give away at Eve Vegas.
I thought you
never,
did.
never.
Okay, I take that.
BC
back.
owned the wallet.
It
Oh, that's
actually-
right.
it
Literally,
actually
he got it with
goes-
the wallet.
To the yachting trips for the Matani.
Dirk was always out of pocket. I was always
Really?
the fucking expense side. BC was the fucking rev side.
Did it ever come back around, or was it like?
No, literally right now I've transferred it over to Drayden. Right now, if we have any money when we get to fucking Vegas, by the time we get to fucking Vegas, we're just gonna have one of those nights where we're like, fuck, does anybody want nachos?
I didn't
you
know
want
that.
pizza?
That's really cool.
Yeah, let's go for
so,
pizza.
Dirk, all those T-shirts are out of your pocket?
Yes, and last year was completely fucking stiff because I did a multicolor fucking t-shirt that was totally the best Eve online t-shirt ever.
Ever? That's a bold
And
statement.
that actually fucking cost because it was multicolor. It was not that 2-color bullshit that they sell.
Wow. Well, I'm shocked. That's a lot of money. Good
Yeah,
for
I know.
you.
That's what you and my wife.
I think the same thing.
You and my wife are yeah, never again. Literally, that was the Holocaust t-shirt. We should be able to rename that.
The amount of money I spent on Eve, that's
We'll
why
never
I'm
forget.
divorced.
Never forget.
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't spend that much money on Eve anymore.
No, exactly. And you know what? This is kind of
College?
one of the weird things about Eve is that Eve is legitimately, despite the fact that we actually have new blood coming up into it, is an aging population. At some point, there will be those of us who are in wheelchairs and just want some oxygen and shit that are
Just
still
want
trying to
oxygen.
play.
Oh,
Um,
actually, speaking of people in wheelchairs and old people playing Eve, have I told you that I convinced my grandma to play through the entire tutorial?
Oh,
Dude, your grandma's 39.
Grand
Would
Jin.
you relax?
She's over 70. You know that, right?
Grand Jin.
Oh, really? Is she really? That's kind of fucking creepy. Over 60, I get a little whatever. I've seen 61 that are hot, but
Yeah, and Matt, no, I'm not. Well, I am going to university, but no, I'm unemployed now. I got made redundant. Rip.
Oh, made redundant.
Not unemployed. You're employed as a CSM member. That's like kind of a big deal.
Exactly.
Sweet.
Exactly.
In the
You
real
look
world,
at
that's like a huge
Do you
deal.
have diplomatic immunity?
Yeah, you're.
I have diplomatic immunity to having a job. I'll take that.
So I need to spend more time with CSM.
So really, you have a
Holy
beard because you can't
bastards.
afford razors.
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
that why
that's
you
totally
haven't
why.
shaved? Yeah.
This is my beard of sorrow. That's why I'm on open
The
comms
beard of
drinking at
sadness.
4 a.m.
Huh.
The beard
When
of
my
shame.
beard grows so long, I go on open
Yeah,
comms.
totally. I've been sad for so many years.
At
Just
least
start
you can
drinking
grow a
straight
When I
beard at
look like
20,
Robinson
20 years old.
Crusoe,
Don't blow yourself
I
up.
go on open comms.
Yintan, are you in a bathrobe? What is that?
Oh, you
It's my
took it
dressing
off
gown.
earlier.
It's a
Do you
what?
not have dressing gowns in America?
Oh my god!
Lovely.
Oh my god! What was that movie?
The
Silence
fuck
of
is
the
a
Lambs,
dressing
when the guy
gown?
had the fucking
Talking about a
bathrobe that he
bathrobe?
pulls apart.
It puts
I
the
think that's
lotion
what
on
Americans
the
like.
skin.
Oh my god! You ever put the lotion in the basket?
It gets
Oh,
the hose
God.
again.
No, I haven't.
So this is
Jin
degrading.
Tan
Good thing
puts
there's
the
only 9
lotion in the
minutes left.
basket, or he gets the hose again.
Hey man, model,
What do you have in
model
your
that.
basement, Jintan?
There's only 9 minutes left.
So dressing gown
Alright.
is a British equivalent to an American bathrobe.
Actually, wrapping up the shit that doesn't actually matter. The
There
fact
you
of the
go.
matter is that this year, right? I mean, honestly, what you people have pulled off this year actually doesn't matter. You're gonna have to step your fucking game up on the rage level for CCP to take notice, because back then things were actually fucking different. They didn't talk to us as players. They talked to us as things that paid money to play their game. That changed after all that. The fucking CSM changed after all that. A lot of things fucking changed after all that. If you want to actually fucking rev this up, you're gonna have to get way bigger than fucking marching on the fucking like Midlands of CCP whatever that thing is between the CCP monument and the White House. But whatever. The fact of the matter is that
An ocean?
There's a
You're
CCP
gonna-
monument
No, Are you
next to
saying-
the White House?
Should
what do
we,
they call?
should
What
we
do they call
annex
that
the
thing out there with the
Sudetenland?
mirror
What do you
lakes?
think?
and
promenade?
shit? Anyways, whatever. Oh my god, I'm not even American because I don't know. But the fact of the matter is that you're gonna have to step your game up this time, because number one, you're gonna have to step your game up because your legitimate grievances are weaker, and CCP is a stronger company now than they were back then. So they're not just going to take a bullshit fucking, oh, those bitches are mad fucking kind of excuse, even though they backed off of what I think was Larrikin's, fighter change
Fighter
for a couple
changes, yeah.
months.
Well, and also the shits.
So either step it up or shut the fuck up. Either get mean or go back to your fucking basement. Like, it's
Do you
just
need
like
people
another
to
fucking
bring it?
summer.
Go get your pacifier.
Are you saying
Get
that
it
someone
Like
should-
people need to
should-
step up, maybe? Maybe bring it?
Oh.
No, actually, I don't think they actually need to step up, because this is not legitimately the same thing as it was back then. Okay, it's not. Okay, we have been through fucking nerfs before, and I swear to God, if any of you are the kind of monkeys that will buy into some Super Cat pilot saying, represent me, don't represent that guy. Do not fucking front for him.
First they
Because
came for the
if they
Rockwolves,
actually make
and
the
I said
change that
nothing
will
because
affect
I wasn't
money
a minor.
supply that guy wants, it will hit you and him equally. Don't
And then they
do
came
it.
for the Super Cat
Be a
pilots.
Bernie
and I said
BNI
nothing
pilot.
because I wasn't a Super Cat pilot.
Because I wasn't a fucking baby.
And
boy.
now they're here for the drones.
Don't be a
And there's
babby.
no one left to speak. because I was
babby.
gone.
Is this like they can take my rook rolls,
Babby.
but they will never
Do
take
I
my
did in the
freedom?
British election and just give up and just vote like not even third party, just vote like seventh party.
I'm pulling my
Giving
pulling my
up on
pacifier
politics,
out of my
right?
mouth, because this is the only place that a pacifier should ever be, is in your mouth. Okay?
It's
But
time for high set candidates.
what I do want to say is this.
No.
For all of you who
Shut your
think that a
mouth.
fucking Dirk rant is just like, oh my god, I can't believe Dirk's so fucking drunk that he fucking talks so long that it fucking presses people out. No, actually, I actually just do it for the show. It's just kind of fun. It's like, I think it might actually be funny. I may not be funny. I'm not trying to be freaking like, Bill Maher or anything. All right, except that one time. But the fact of the matter is that I'm just trying. We're newstainment, right? We're not trying to be fucking CNN, who's like real
No.
news, or Fox,
This is-
who like has a slight slant to it or whatever.
This is the Red Eye.
We're
on
the
Fox.
MSNBC of drinking Eve newscasts. I'm putting my fucking binky back in my mouth.
Okay. Good night, Derek.
Are you going to a rave?
You wait. I just looked up because I was trying to figure out why my internet was taking a shit. But you actually have a pacifier in your mouth right now.
He does.
You are a giant
I do,
baby.
because this is the pacifiers that fucking CCP should have actually mailed out to all of its fucking players and go, fucking relax, you tiny bitches.
Tiny
But then
babbies.
everybody would have focused on the one word tiny, and they would have said, your entire statement messes with me because I'm not tiny.
Explain
Well,
that.
there's not too
Explain
many
that.
tiny Eve Online players.
I am very small. I'm a bite-sized human being.
You are a little fucking man with a big beard, but that's cool. We are a different society
Oh my
today
God,
than we
I've
were in
just realised.
2011.
When Jin Tan turns sideways,
I'm
it's
short
cloak
and I have a
engaged.
beard. I'm a dwarf. My life is. completely-
I like
your
hammers.
beard has
Someone-
to get down to your breast to be a dwarf, but
Working
you're
on
working
it.
on
Gonna
it.
work on it now.
But Dirk,
How can I
people,
not get a fucking goddamn smoking cigarette fucking binky the way this binky doesn't smoke a cigarette?
Stop calling them
ridiculous.
binkies. You are not 2
It's a
years
fucking
old.
binky. It's a goddamn pacifier.
Yeah,
Everybody knows what a binky is. It's a global term.
I
Mine's
never
called
called
a
it
nook.
binky.
Nook.
Ugh, whatever.
Yeah, the old
whatever,
Nook.
Whatever. It's a pacifier. We all know what pacifier means, right? It means that Falcon gave out too many fucking pacifiers.
Yeah, but
And it pacified nothing. It actually made things unpacified.
Oh, these babbies.
It was easy to buy a pacifier in Vegas this week because of EDC. Yeah, that's a great time here in Vegas.
What's that?
Electric Daisy Carnival, the electronic
Ah?
music festival.
It
Nobody
sounds
knows what
like
ELO.
nobody
Batman
Was
for
ELO
SC
is?
went up that weekend.
Nobody knows what EDC is. Oh my god.
Dude, I'd love to go to E EDC.
However,
Yeah. I'm
going to
it's
fu- I'm going to
10:56
fucking- I'm
p.m.
going to
Eastern
fucking
time, which is the only
nuts.
time that fucking matters. We've got 4 minutes. Look, you know what we haven't done in a long fucking time? I want to give fucking shout outs. Matterall, do you have a fucking shout out?
Yes, I want to give a shout out to Minxie, who's a great editor, and Noisy, who's a great researcher, and Dirk, and yeah, everybody else who helped out with an article that was tough to do. It actually started out as one thing. We got too deep into it, so we had to cut off the other half of it. But I think it's definitely worth reading, and it is. I like that kind of team effort most of the time. And Dirk did a massive rewrite, so like he wrote half that article at least.
I was literally actually going to rip into you right there because you're like, Noisy's a great researcher and Minxie's a great fucking editor.
How
and
was
then-
this shout outs?
Thanks,
How was
Dirk.
this shout outs?
Dirk's a good reader, good drinker.
Fucking Dirk was so hammered last night after he rushed back from Connecticut.
How was shitting on Matterall's shout outs a shout out? I'd
Wasn't
like to
it?
give
It's
out a shout out
because-
to
it's because
Matterall's
fucking
terrible shout
Matterall and
out.
I are fucking bros.
It's called a shit
unbro.
out.
Ah,
All
the
you
old
fans
shit
are
out.
great. I'm just kidding.
No, the sad part about that fucking article, and, quite honestly, was the
You got any
fact
shout outs
that,
there, Dirk, or what?
It was 4,000 words of. No, I don't. Paul, go.
2 minutes.
Why is it
Paul,
my
you have
turn?
Fucking go. Give
All
a
right,
shout-out to
I'll just
people.
give a shout
Be
out to the
"Thank you."
fans that show up and watch us fucking idiots talk about bullshit, and give a shout out to CCP for running a really effective company.
Alright. My shout out.
Go ahead, Jen. Go.
Go to
I know you
Caleb-
love being a CSM. You're not getting a fucking third term. Do you still have another shout out?
No, I'm not going for another third term.
Get mad, get mad.
Thank you
Caleb-
for not being fucking Steve Vernukin.
Caleb Arania, who is like my one-man focus group for all of my videos. Shout out to him. He's doing amazing work with Eve Guardian.
Blast him. Give me a goddamn Karma Fleet shout out, bitch.
Karma to Merkelchen, CEO of Karma Fleet, and then I'm going to do a second one to the Eve Vegas volunteers who tirelessly put their time into making Eve Vegas a wonderful event for the players that come to Vegas, because we don't get paid for that shit, but we love doing it just because we love to meet people and be ambassadors for Eve.
Make Eve Vegas great again, people. Mevga. Anyways, Jeremy Lalilu Blank.
Lalelu
Shout out to TNT. We have a new Keepstar. That was last week's news, but still, shout out to TNT. Good job putting the Keepstar up. Also, shout out to Drunk Canadian's cat. Good job.
Fuck yeah, Will. Thanks for that. Keep stuff. Rain.
That stunt cat.
Shout out to everyone over at Evathon, and especially you guys sending people our way. We have a lot of people streaming, Reload streaming right now, handling everything on his own. all the people doing donations, both monetary and then ones for giveaways, and then as well as the people in chat and CCP. The EVE community is amazing, and I know all we do in this show is just sit and rant and complain and call everyone babies, but the EVE community is actually amazing, and I love you all.
Call them babbies.
Totally fucking sure. You know what? Look, number one, the people that listen to this goddamn show, especially the ones that come in the fucking second hour because they think some crazy shit might happen, I want to thank all of you out there, okay? This is how it fucking rolls. This is why this show will grab always, motherfucker, more goddamn viewers than even a fucking charity stream, which we should all be watching right now, except that we will give you the fucking link to just pay and watch this instead. So, thank you all for listening. This is why this is the best fucking community on earth, because you all know what to fucking listen to. Have a fucking drink and listen to this bullshit that we fucking spew. So thank you. Peace out. Boom. We're gone.
Stay
Later,
tuned.
bitches.
Games
Later,
Matter.
bitches.
Manhattans, yay!